Stop scrolling. If you are planning a relocation to Houston in 2026, the biggest risk you face isn't interest rates and it isn't home prices. It is regret. It is the risk of buying a home that looks perfect on a browser window today, only to realize 6 months from now that you bought into a commute that steals 2 hours of your life every day, or a flood zone that wasn't properly explained to you because you relied on a generic map. In this episode, we are going to cover three specific things. First, the February 2026 numbers, because the market is shifting in ways that the national headlines aren't capturing. Second, we are going to do a deep dive into the specific neighborhoods that fit the professional family profile, specifically looking at the Heights, Oak Forest, and Timbergrove. And third, we're going to talk about the unsexy stuff that matters most: flood zones, insurance costs, and taxes. If you're moving your family here, whether for a career expansion in the energy sector or a strategic reset from a high-tax state, you are not looking for a sales pitch. You are looking for a risk assessment. You are executing a major life decision, and you need the ground truth, not the marketing fluff. Welcome to the channel. I am a Houston realtor, and I have lived in Houston, Texas for over 30 years. I have watched this city boom, I've watched it sprawl, and I have helped countless families navigate the chaotic waters of buying and selling real estate here. My ideal clients aren't looking for someone to just open a door, they are looking for someone to prevent mistakes. I work with professionals, engineers, attorneys, medical specialists who treat buying a home the same way they treat a business decision. They want the data, they want to understand the liabilities, and they want to execute with precision. Let's start with the macro view to set the baseline. The Houston Association of Realtors just released the January 2026 data, and the headline is Adjustment. Across the entire city, single-family home sales were down slightly, about 1% compared to last year. We saw just under 5,000 homes sell. That is the lowest number of transactions since 2023. Inventory has expanded to a 4.7-month supply. For context, a balanced market is usually considered 6 months. So statistically, we are moving toward a market where buyers have more leverage. However, and this is critical for you to understand, pending sales rose 8.5%. That means while closed deals were down, the number of people writing contracts is up significantly. Demand hasn't disappeared, it has just become more selective. Buyers are punishing sellers who overprice their homes. The average time on market has stretched to 66 days, the longest wait since 2020. But here is where the data splits, and this is where it matters for you. While the general market is softening, the luxury and quality market is accelerating. Sales of homes priced over $1 million jumped 15.5%. The flight to quality is real. The people moving here with capital are competing for the best assets while the rest of the market sits. I want to pause here and tell you a quick story about why this flight to quality matters. About 4 months ago, I started working with a couple moving from Chicago. They were incredibly smart, high-income earners, but they were focused entirely on getting a deal. They wanted to find a seller who was desperate. We looked at a home in the Rice military area that was priced $50,000 under the comps. On paper, it was a steal, but when we walked it, I pointed out the grading of the lot, the age of the stucco, which catches moisture in our humid climate, and the fact that the street drainage was poor. I told them, you aren't buying a discount, you're buying a liability. We walked away. That house is still on the market today, and the price has dropped another $20,000. We eventually found them a home in the Heights that cost more upfront, but had perfect drainage and a new roof. They closed last month, and during that heavy rain we had 2 weeks ago, they sent me a text that just said, "Dry as a bone. Thank you." That is why I do this. My job isn't to sell you a house. It's to make sure you don't call me in 6 months wishing you hadn't bought it. Now, let's look at your target neighborhood specifically, because the data there looks completely different from the rest of the city. If you're a professional couple, maybe one of you is in oil and gas, the other in law, and you're targeting that $775,000 to $850,000 price point, you're entering a very specific bracket. Let's look at the Heights and Greater Heights. If you value walkability and lifestyle density, this is the first stop. The data shows that the Heights is defying the city-wide slowdown. The average sales price in the Heights area just jumped 5.9% to roughly $844,000. While the rest of Houston has expanded inventory, the Heights remains a stable asset class. But at that 850,000 mark, you are often looking at a townhome or an older bungalow that needs work. This brings us to Oak Forest. Specifically, let's look at Oak Forest East. This area is often the solution for families who want the Heights lifestyle but need a newer footprint and a real backyard. The average price here is sitting right at $832,000. That is up 6.7% from last year. This fits the target purchase price perfectly. Oak Forest allows you to find that new construction product, the two-story modern farmhouse style with the open floor plan without hitting the $1 million mark. Then we have Timbergrove and Lazy Brook. These are the hidden gems for those who want quiet tree-line stability. The average price here is up 6.8% to roughly $746,000. But look at the inventory. It is tight. Homes here are moving fast with just over 3 months of inventory compared to the city average of 4.7. Now compare these stable inner loop pockets to an area like Rice Military or the Washington Corridor. That area saw prices drop by over 7% recently. Why? Because the market is adjusting away from vertical townhomes and towards single-family plots with land. This distinction is crucial. I worked with a client recently named Mark. He was an engineer, very analytical. He had a spreadsheet of 50 homes he found on Zillow. He couldn't understand why a home in Rice Military was $180 per square foot, while a home in Timbergrove was $250 per square foot. He thought the Timbergrove home was overpriced. I took him on a calibration tour, which is how I start with all my relocation clients. We don't look to buy, we look to learn. We drove through Rice Military at 5 p.m. on a Friday. It was gridlock. Cars parked on both sides of the narrow streets. Then we drove to Timbergrove. It was quiet. People were walking dogs. The streets were wide. He closed his spreadsheet and said, "Okay, I get it. The value isn't in the square footage. It's in the scarcity of the land." Mark bought in Timbergrove. He paid more per square foot, but his asset has appreciated 6% this year, while the other area dropped 7%. That is the difference between data and insight. Now, I want to pivot to the unsexy stuff, the things that keep you up at night. If you are relocating from out of state, you have probably heard horror stories about 3 things: flooding, insurance, and taxes. Let's tackle flood zones. Houston is flat. We worry about sheet flow, where rain falls faster than it can drain. In the neighborhoods we are discussing, you will see terms like Zone X and Zone AE. Zone X is what you want. It is the moderate to low risk area. Zone AE is the 1% annual chance floodplain. Here is the rule of thumb I give my risk-averse clients. We prioritize homes in Zone X. However, even in Zone X, we look at the elevation certificate. We want to see that the home is built up from the street level. In Oak Forest and Timbergrove specifically, there are pockets near the bayou that are in the floodplain, and pockets 2 streets over that are high and dry. You cannot trust a Zillow map blindly. You need someone to pull the flood claims history on the specific property. We want to know, did this house flood during Harvey? If the answer is yes, we usually walk away. Next, insurance reality. Insurance costs have risen. It is a shock to many relocating here. But this is another reason why your preference for new construction or lightly lived homes is financially smart. Insurance carriers in Texas aggressively penalize older roofs and older plumbing systems. By targeting a home built in the last 5 to 10 years or a new build in Oak Forest, you're getting a home built to modern windstorm standards. This can save you thousands of dollars a year in premiums compared to a 1940s bungalow in the Heights that hasn't been updated. Third, property taxes. You are moving to a state with no income tax. That is the strategic reset, but the government still has to get paid. Inside the loop, you are generally looking at a tax rate between 2.2 and 2.7%. Here is the trap to avoid: mano de taxes, municipal utility districts. In the far out suburbs, EMA taxes can push your rate over 3.5%. One of the huge advantages of Timbergrove and Lazy Brook is that they are often in the city of Houston proper without high MUD taxes. This keeps your monthly payment stable. I had a family transfer here from California last summer. They were shocked by the property tax rate initially. They were looking at a master plan community way out west because the homes were cheaper. But when we sat down and did the true monthly cost analysis, factoring in the higher mud tax, the higher toll road fees for the commute, and the wear and tear on 2 cars, the cheaper house was actually $400 more a month than the home in Oak Forest. They chose Oak Forest. They gained 2 hours of their life back every day from the shorter commute, and they locked in a more stable tax rate. Speaking of commute, let's talk about logistics. If you are working in oil and gas, you might be commuting to the energy corridor or downtown. If you are in law, you are likely downtown. This is why the Northwest Quadrant, Heights and Oak Forest wins. You have direct access to Loop 610 and Highway 290. You can get downtown in 15 to 20 minutes. You can get to the energy corridor in 25 to 30 minutes going against the main flow of traffic. If you were to buy in the suburbs, say Katy or the Woodlands, you're looking at an hour each way. For a family that values time protection and a health-focused lifestyle, spending 2 hours a day in a car is a non-starter. You want to be close enough to the gym and the park that you can actually use them on a Tuesday, not just on the weekend. Finally, I want to address a mindset I see in clients like you. You are practical, you are decisive, you trust competence, you are seeing headlines that say inventory is up, it's a buyer's market, and you might be tempted to lowball or to wait for prices to crash. In the sub 500,000 market, you could do that. In the condo market, which is down 26% in sales volume, you could do that. But in the turnkey family home in a good school zone inside the Loop market, that is not crashing. As we saw, prices in your target areas are up 6%. The game-playing sellers are the ones with the overpriced, older inventory. The sellers of the high-quality, move-in ready homes know what they have. My advice? We don't chase deals, we chase value. Value means buying a home that will appraise, a home that has good drainage, a home that is zoned to a school that protects your resale value, and a home that doesn't require you to interview 5 contractors the week you move in. So, what does the process look like? It starts before you even get on the plane. We do a strategy call to build your box. We define the commute, the school, the budget, and the risk tolerance. Then, when you fly in, we don't waste time. We do the calibration tour. We verify the flood zones. We check the HOA restrictions because while you want standards, you don't want an HOA that is unreasonable. And when we find the right property, we execute. We write a clean, structured offer. We use a calm, authoritative approach with the listing agent to get the information we need, and we move forward with certainty. The data for February 2026 is clear. The market is adjusting, but the high-quality inner loop market is strengthening. Affordability has improved slightly. Mortgage payments are down about $160 a month compared to last year, but the real win for you is the increase in inventory. You have more choices than you had 2 years ago. You don't have to panic buy, you can buy the right house. If you are looking for a realtor who is going to pressure you into the first house you see, I am not that person. But if you are looking for a partner to help you navigate the logistics of a Houston relocation, to explain the flood zones, the taxes, and the resale metrics so you can make a decision you won't regret in 5 years, then let's have that conversation. Texas is a strategic reset. It's a place to build wealth and a life with a little more space and a lot less friction. Let's make sure your landing here is as smooth as possible. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next video.